Hey guys, Steve, My6 Subaru again, doing another do-it-yourself tutorial for you. And this time around, we're doing a tutorial on how to roll your fenders for free. Now I know this is a modification that a lot of us have had problems with. It's really hard to get actual fender rollers. You can rent fender rollers off of eBay, or you can purchase them, and usually they cost around $200 or so, but not a lot of us have $200 to invest in that kind of equipment, especially something that we're only going to use once or twice. And so this time I'm actually going to be going a little old school with this, and I'm going to show you the proper way to roll your fenders with a wooden baseball bat. Now for this project today, we're going to need three different things. We're going to need a wooden baseball bat, a heat gun, and a floor jack. Now as far as the baseball bat is concerned, it does have to be a wooden one. I wouldn't use an aluminum bat for this. The nice thing about wood is that it's able to flex around a little bit, and it won't hurt or scuff your paint as bad as the aluminum bat would. It's got a little bit of play to it. Also, a lot of people have asked me about whether it's okay to use a hair dryer in place of the heat gun, and I honestly would not recommend using a hair dryer, and the reason is that hair dryers do not get hot enough. The heat gun itself is going to keep our paint at about 200 degrees or so, and that's going to be hot enough that's going to allow the paint itself to be flexible and keep it from cracking or splitting or any undue damage to it. But by the same token, it's not going to be so hot as it's going to bubble up or cause any sort of damage in that way. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so the first thing that you're going to need to do in this project is put your car into first gear. Now if you don't do that, your front wheels are actually going to spin as you're trying to use the bat on your fenders. And if that's the case, the bat can potentially slip out, it can cause damage to your paint, and that's the last thing that you want in this project. So make sure you put your car in gear, and make sure that you put your parking brake on as well. You're probably going to want to chock the wheels on the other side in case your vehicle's on an incline, so that you don't risk having it slide backwards on you as well. So we're going to get started. What we're going to do first is put the jack under the car and create a little bit of space, in my case, from the tire itself to the fender, because my car is already lowered, and so right now I can't fit the bat in anywhere. If your car's at stock height, you might be able to bypass this step, but you are going to need to be able to pull the jack out at some point here in the near future. So here we go. Alright, so what you're going to see right here is I can't move the bat up and down very much. It's basically straight out, and that's exactly what you're going to want to be starting this, because what we're going to do is we're going to start very lightly against here. So at this point in the fender, the car is still going to be relatively low to the ground. We don't want to necessarily go over the whole thing. We're just going to get started. So what we're going to do is, now that I've got the bat in here, we're going to take our heat gun and we're going to heat up the bit of fender that we're actually working with, and what that's going to do is it's going to prevent damage to the paint. So we're just going to start there. We'll kind of work our way up, and as an area gets finished, we'll actually lift the car a little bit more. We're going to take the bat and move it at a more and more extreme angle until the actual fender is pretty close to flat, and then we're going to use a different technique that I'll show you. Now when you're doing this, remember not to keep the heat gun in one place too long, because if you do that, you risk damaging your paint or bubbling it up. It'll get too hot in one place. Now you can see what I'm doing is I'm just keeping pressure against this and rolling the bat up into the fender. Now your fender might come out a little bit, but that's okay. The nice thing about Subaru fenders is they are aluminum, and so they'll pop back into place. You just don't want to stress it out too much to the point where this could potentially damage the actual body panel itself. Alright, now if I reach my hand up here, I can already see there's a major difference here as opposed to right here. So now what we're going to do is, because I can't fit the bat in here anymore, we're going to raise the car up a little bit more so there's more space for us to get in there. Now before you start rolling the bat, make sure that you've actually heated the paint area up around it. Alright guys, now we finished the first couple of initial passes here, and the fender already feels a heck of a lot better. It's about at a 45-degree angle to where it was before, so we're definitely getting there. Now in order to complete that angle, we're going to have to lift the car up more, and then we'll attack this with the bat at a much sharper angle. Now again, I want to remind you, when you're doing this, take your time. You figure probably about 20 to 30 minutes per fender is a good amount of time it should take you. You have to be working it up slowly in order to make sure that your paint's not going to be damaged. You do want to take your time and make sure that the paint on the fender is plenty hot enough for you, and you're not attacking the rolling process at too hard an increment, because if you are doing that, it will potentially damage your paint. So just take your time, make sure you're comfortable with the pace at which you're going. Now what I'm doing here is I am putting some pressure against the base of the bat. What that's doing is it's pushing the fender out a bit, but more importantly, it's creating a nice even pressure as we go to keep the whole process moving smoothly and flattening the fender in the way that we want. Alright, we're almost there now. It's probably been about 15 minutes of working the fender at this point. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and lift the car up a little bit more, make one more final run with the large end of the bat, and that should prepare us for the next step. Alright, now we've got the fender itself rolled most of the way now, so in order to complete this job, we're going to need to try to flatten that edge as much as possible against the inside to get a real nice rolled fender. And what that's going to allow you to do, obviously, is take your car down that much lower. So what we're actually going to do is, instead of using the large end of the bat, we're actually going to use the small end of the bat. What's nice about the smaller end of the bat, is that you can actually get in close to the wheel, so you can get a more aggressive angle against the fender itself. And you're going to use this end of the bat to actually push against the inside that you're trying to roll here. So this part of the process, I will tell you, just be very careful, take your time when you're doing it, because it is easy to have that part of the bat slip out and potentially hurt your paint. So we're going to run this over a few more passes, and I'll show you how thin we actually got the fender. And a method that I like to use is I actually will push my leg against the wide side of the bat a little bit, because that allows me greater control. I can use both hands to help stabilize the bat. Okay, so we did 2 more runs across the inner part of the fender with the bat, or the small tip of the bat. Let's take a look at how it turned out. Alright guys, so that's how you roll your fenders the right way. The best bit of advice that I can give you for this process is make sure that you take your time. Again, it should take about 20 to 30 minutes per fender. If you take your time, you won't end up with any damage at all. You'll end up with a fantastic product that you can be proud of, and you'll have saved yourself about $200 over using a professional fender roller. And your fenders will look just as good as if you had actually used a professional product. As always, I greatly appreciate your support. Please go to my6subaru.com for more do-it-yourself tutorials, how-to videos, and general information on your Subaru. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again soon.